Hi, this is John Thorson, head Jerusalem psychotherapist. In this week's Torah and Psychology post, Parshas Pekudei, we're going to look at the significance of the Mishkan, the completion of the Mishkan in this week's Parsha. And what it represents is that there's a shift, a change in the reality of how the Bnei Yisrael can connect with the Kodesh Baruch Hu. Whereas before it was a relationship with a Kodesh Baruch Hu that in some way was based on being able to understand how to connect with a Kodesh Baruch Hu that is omnipresent, ethereal, something which is not tangible. And now we have a means of connecting or understanding this relationship through physical objects. We have the Mishkan, we have all the vessels inside the Mishkan that we've learnt about. And we read in this week's parasha about the cloud resting on the Mishkan, which represents the resting of the Shekhinah. Now we have a way of being able to connect and understand this relationship with the Kodesh Baruch Hu in a different way. But what it shows us is that what this relationship with the Kodesh Baruch Hu may be helped and supported and facilitated by these physical objects, but it is based on an internalized conceptualization of Kodesh Baruch Hu, an internalized conceptualization of this relationship with the Kodesh Baruch Hu. And this can can be understood and explained through the theory of object relations in psychodynamic theory. Now, just to explain or make a point is that the connection I'm trying to make is not with the fact that we now have physical objects, being the Mishkan, for example, a tangible means to connect with the Kodesh Baruch Hu, a physical object, and that's why it relates to object relations theory. Because this is the point that has to be made to explain object relations, that it doesn't actually discuss or have anything to do with physical objects, but rather, as we'll see, and how I would like to use this theory to explain what is the significance in this week's parsha. I'd like to use this theory to explain the idea of internalized conceptualizations of a relationship. As we said, the relationship with the Kodesh Baruch Hu it's based on how we internalize the concept of a Kodesh Baruch Hu, of Elokim, of having a relationship with something which is intangible. It is helped, and certainly it's facilitated, to have physical objects. But the main point and the relationship is based on how a person connects with and how they've internalized this conceptualization of relationship with a Kodesh Baruch Hu. So if we look at object relations theory, it looks at, often in the early years, a child that's very young, a baby, they don't have the cognitive, emotional development yet, or ability to hold the concept of what it means to have a father and mother, this physical being their father and mother. But rather what they do is they internalize a conceptualization of their father and their mother. And this internalized conceptualization is referred to as an object. They hold a mentalization of their father and mother as being referred to as this is in a way you could say an object. It's not a physical object. As we said, it's the internalized conceptualization, which is referred to as an object. And in the case of a mother, for example, that nourishes and feeds the baby, the baby will internalize a conceptualization of a good object. Their mother is held as being a good object in their mind, in how they emotionally and cognitively conceptualize their mother. And therefore this will have a knock-on effect that they themselves feel worthy because they are somebody that is given food, is nourished, is worthy of attention. So they also feel that they have a self-worth, self-value. And they also learn the idea that of a further understanding of the relationship. I love my mother. This relationship with the good object of their mother. So because of this, we see from this internalized conceptualization, it has a knock-on effect of how they view their mother, how they view themselves, how they view the emotion of love, how they view the world. And psychodynamic theory and object relations looks at how this can be positive or detrimental to the development of a person. If they have a internalized conceptualization of a good object for their mother, then this can have a positive effect on how they build relationships with other people, how they build intimate, close relationships with their wife or with their husband. in terms of future relationships. It depends how on what is the internalized conceptualization of this object, of the relationship with the mother or father, in particular with primary caregivers. And this theory gives us an insight into what is the significance of, what is the process of internalizing and developing an internalized conceptualization of a relationship and the quality of this relationship, whether it's an internalized good object or a bad object. In psychodynamic theory, in object relations, there's a splitting between how a person holds a internalized conceptualization of a good object or a bad object, meaning the mother that can be good or bad, is supportive, not supportive, nourishes, does not nourish, can be there, gives attention, doesn't give attention. All this helps to understand and give a way for a child to internalize and understand their world, to understand themselves. And this is what psychodynamic theory of object relations, how it really has benefited and contributed to psychological understanding, is the power of internalized conceptualizations. And as we said, it's not based on something physical. It's not a physical object, but rather it's a mentalization of how a person processes a relationship. So if we take this theory and we look at this week's parsha, we understand that we can appreciate more that the Bnei Yisrael have an internalized conceptualization of a relationship with the Kadosh Baruch Hu, the object of a relationship with the Kadosh Baruch Hu, with God. And hopefully this will be a positive, healthy, internalized conceptualization, which we can say from this week's parsha is supported, is helped, or is, and we gain an insight into the quality of this relationship through the physical objects, through the Mishkan, through the vessels, through the cloud. It gives us a way of being able to understand, in a sense, the nuances and being able to fine-tune and strengthen this connection. But what it's based on, okay, relationship with the Kadosh Baruch Hu, is really based on object relations. It's really based on an internalized conceptualization of a relationship with an ethereal power, an omnipresent power, with a Kadosh Baruch Hu. And hopefully this is a healthy relationship that can have a positive impact on our development as a Jewish person, a healthy impact on ourselves and the way we understand our world. And this is hopefully an interesting and insightful way of using object relations theory to understand the significance of the Mishkan. Have a great Shabbos and keep well.